coming at you from Prog once again. I've got another no BS reaction for you. It's been a bit of a delay. Holiday fell in there. We had a video lost in copyright limbo for a little bit, which is out now. Go check that out. That would be me, believe it or not, Mr. Rush, hearing some new Rush for the first time. Some new Rush. Go find that one. It's entertaining. Anyway, time for me to expand my boundaries just a little bit. Glad to have you along for the ride. Thank you for joining me. It's much appreciated. This time, I'm going to be going back to the Meshuggah well for the first time in a while. As I round out my first half-dozen songs with them, I'm going to be moving on to something a little more recent. Today, the song is Born in Dissonance. It is taken from their 2016 album, The Violent Sleep of Reason. And I want to say this one ended up on my list as a suggestion, but I gotta admit, I utterly failed to write down who made the suggestion. Helpful thing to do when that happens. So anyway, apologies and thank you, mystery person or people, for the suggestion. It is very much appreciated. Now before we get into the song, a couple quick reminders. If you would be so kind, please do the like and subscribe thing. Good to have you along for the ride. If you are social media minded, you can find my links in the description below. And you will also find the link from my all progressive rock station on Live 365. That is called The Expanse. Go check it out when you get a chance. I think you might enjoy it. Meanwhile, here we go with Meshuggah, and this is Born in Dissonance. Buckle up. Blasphemy. I'm going to pause for a moment. I'm going to go back to where the solo begins. Apologies for that for those that are going, Dave, what are you doing? I just wanted to take a moment to pause. It's about more than halfway through the song. And I have to say, among the many songs, five, that I've heard from Meshuggah so far up to this point, this one stands out a bit for me. Now, it is still kind of consistent with their tendency towards groove metal, so to speak, hitting a groove, sticking in that pocket, so to speak, and riding that for most of the song. But this one, I'm hearing more variations thrown into the mix that I'm really liking. And it's mostly you've got this very strong chugging groove going in there, but then they throw in these kind of little, I think I'm going to say syncopated little riffs, little licks, whatever you want to say, in the midst of that I really like. I'm not sure better how to describe it than that, but they add this little flavor to the song that were they to just stick with the main chugging riffs, to me would probably drag a little bit. It would get a little boring. They add this extra interest in there, and I'm really liking that. They're also doing some things with the tones and the chords that I'm not sure. I want to say I don't think these are guys that do a lot of production tricks and things like that. I think they, not knowing for sure, but I believe and suspect that for the most part, what they're playing is them doing it without any added processing and stuff like that. So I don't know how to describe what I'm hearing, but it almost gives me the impression, and somebody out there I guarantee will confirm or correct on this, so that's why I'm going to throw it out there. But it gives me almost the impression, I don't know if it's just very subtle changes from one chord to the other. It feels like what I'm hearing is they are playing the same chord, but I don't even know if this is possible, bending it a little so that it's not a new chord, it's not a different chord, it's not, but it is the same chord, but because it's bent, or palm muted or something like that, it overall brings the chord itself down a little bit, or up at times, but I hear a lot of down. I hear it's almost like somebody's downshifting a car. I could be completely talking out my ass, which is why I'm pulling all these metaphors out of here, but it's what it sounds like. I dig it. I like it. It's very cool. It's a real cool tone, and it adds something that you really don't hear very often. Matter of fact, I can't say that I've heard a sound like it anywhere else that I can recall. So in that sense, I go, wow, that is something really cool, playing like the tonality of the guitar in a way that I've not imagined or seen somebody do before. Almost gives a sense of like detuning the guitar while playing it. That I've heard, and that sounds a bit weird, and it's not quite as, what should we say, focused or organized or cohesive as this would be, which is what makes me think there's a bending going on, but at the same time, not being a guitar player, I'm trying to picture in my head the image of somebody playing a chord where you, and I do know a tiny bit about guitar, where you've got the fingers on perhaps 2, 3 strings at the same time and bending all of them. And yet keeping the chord intact while doing so. That would be really impressive stuff. And these guys are certainly capable of that. So somebody out there, if you could, let me know how they achieve that sound. It's like dung 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 dung. It's like it just, you know, like little half steps down each time. Could just be playing different chords and not totally just completely building this into something it's not, because the way they did it sounded cool. Either way, I like that. And then they kind of went into a whole section where it sounded like they were mostly playing that way and relying on it. Little brief instrumental break. So right, this is a nice little piece. And for once, I'm paying a little more attention overall to the rhythms. And I know one of the viewers out there educated me in comments that for the most part, primarily Meshuggah plays on a 4/4 time signature, and totally hearing it right now. I'm totally following that. As complicated as their songs get rhythmically, there is that backbone that exists there, which I think is largely what sort of keeps them linked to metal overall, because with that consistency, it really does give itself to, lend itself to headbanging, which is tradition. So why not? Anyway, all right, let's continue here, and hopefully I put this in the right spot to pick up at the beginning of the guitar solo, because it sounds like it should be pretty awesome. just a beat behind getting that pause hit. That's my own timing issues. Anyway, okay, so kind of short, but kind of to the point. A little short for them, perhaps, but I do like it. Might actually be the song I've liked best that I've heard from them so far, in the sense that it's comparatively straightforward, I think, to a lot of the things, and perhaps in some ways, perhaps, one, stop saying perhaps, Dave, slightly more mainstream, if that makes sense in the context of Meshuggah, which I'm sure it can. I dug towards the end there as those kind of repeating chords with the pause and the long pause and then the dun 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 dun. It's a little faster than it actually went, but I liked the presumably guitar in the background doing this kind of oscillating, ringing almost. Don't know how else to describe that sound. Again, it's another sound that I don't think I've specifically heard from a guitar, but I like it in that sense because it kind of took the place of the kind of role a keyboard would normally have, or synths or something like that. And just again to come back to my mind and think that these guys, whatever they're doing, does not involve, I don't think, typically keyboards, or at least in this case, I don't think so. I'm pretty certain that was a guitar I was hearing, and they are able to achieve so much with a guitar. Granted, I've always thought that guitar maybe, if not the most expressive instrument, one of the most expressive instruments in terms of the variety of sounds and tones and just playing that you can achieve with them. There's so many different things you can do with guitars and so many different ways you can achieve sound and music and everything, whether processed or not processed, that it's just so amazing that, from all the way the stuff from Peter Frampton making it sound like it's talking, to Eddie Van Halen finger tapping, to what we just heard there, to what something like Jamie West Orm of the Fix can do with, the tremolo bar, whammy bar, whatever you want to call it, and various effects. Like, there's just so many different ways that one can create musical expression with a guitar. And what I would say is these guys certainly go a long way towards expanding that palette and maximizing it in terms of how they compose their songs and write their songs. And I think that one there was, I'm pretty certain that was perhaps my favorite example of how they do that. And it just seems at that point they really kind of achieved a lot with the techniques that they use for their music. So not a lot I can necessarily add. I'm going to risk getting myself in trouble with the Meshuggah fans there. I will say, for my personal taste, I'm a little underwhelmed by the guitar solo there. Not that it wasn't impressively played, not that it doesn't take a lot of talent. It just seemed that it was largely repeated arpeggios. And I was hoping to hear a little more tonal and technique variety thrown in there, because I know these guys can do so much. But maybe that's not what they felt suited this song in particular, that they felt that really sticking with that mode was best for what they wanted to achieve here. It's just kind of interesting because a song that includes the word dissonance in its title, I feel like there could have been more dissonance in the guitar solo. A little more variation in technique and tone and style. I was expecting something really kind of far out there and all over the place, and it was surprisingly, I would say, restrained, limiting itself to the arpeggios, which again surprised me, because these guys stretch boundaries a good bit. And so it wasn't expected on my part that the guitar solo would be so comparatively restrained, if you can believe that. Somebody playing arpeggios at that speed being restrained, and yes, to me, that was restrained. So that was interesting. But I dug it. It's a good song. Good song, definitely playlist worthy. Still not in love with the vocals, the vocal style. There did seem like there was perhaps a bit more musicality to this one than I've heard in some of their other stuff. But I probably have at the point, that I can say I will almost never be an honest to goodness fan of distorted vocals. I'm able to appreciate them and appreciate the technique involved and the skill and talent it takes to produce them. But I can't say I will ever love them in and of themselves. And I always long for those songs that use them exclusively to mix in some clean vocals here and there. But that's not what these guys do. And I will never expect them to do it. I'll be surprised someday if they pull it out. It seems almost every harsh vocalist, I guess I'll say, that relies exclusively on that technique eventually gets to the point of incorporating clean vocals, but I've not heard these guys do it, and I'm not aware of them doing it. I know there are bands that never get around to it. So I don't expect it. And that's cool. They don't have to do that. They don't have to change for me or anybody. But I can certainly say I more and more become appreciative of what their contribution has been to the world of prog and expanding the palette of what the guitar can do and what you can do in metal. And I can see, again, what made these guys as big as they are. So, again, appreciate the suggestion, whoever sent it to me. Maybe I picked it on my own and didn't remember. I don't know. Cool title. I might have done. But I appreciate that. And, hey, share your thoughts. Did I piss somebody off saying the guitar solo was restrained? Did I get something wrong? Did I guess correctly on the way they were producing the sounds with the guitar throughout the course of the song? Let me know. I'm kind of curious. Educate me. I'm always open to being educated, and I am someone who has only watched guitar players from afar and picked up a few things here and there, but I'm not a player, so I've got plenty I can learn and always ready to absorb some more. So, hey, leave me your comments and let me know what you think. Fill in the blanks where I don't know. Correct me where I'm wrong. Or, hey, validate me. I like validation. It's cool. Anyway, thanks again for watching. I appreciate your time here with me, and I hope you enjoyed it. That's all I've got for you today, so I will leave you with the usual reminders. Never fear to deviate from the norm. Keep it proggy. And this is Super Dave, signing off.